Galen.
Oni.
I believe it was the great Shigeru Miyamoto who said it himself. A delayed game is eventually good. But the Oni Dino Galen Game Awards right here on the Nintendo... That I screwed that up. Everything podcast.
You know what? Fitting.
Are forever bad. Just tripping over itself to try and stick the ending like Homer Simpson doing gymnastics, and then his father yells out to him, "You're gonna blow it." This beginning started off even worse than I thought it would.
Wow. You know what?
It's the Oni Dino Galen Game Awards of 2020 right here on the Nintendo Everything podcast. No, stop with that happy. No. I don't know what this is, but it's happy music. This is a fight to the death, motherfucker. We are starting off. I'm putting music in post. You don't need to gargle balls or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, that might make us a little bit more entertaining.
No, I mean, what? This is a fight to the death. Listen, clearly, Galen and I, listen, if this is your first, oh my God, if this is your first episode,
I'm sorry.
Welcome. My name is Oni Dino. This is Galen.
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
We are passive aggressive, sometimes just aggressive to ourselves, to each other.
Yeah. Well,
our
to
word
ourselves too. Let's not kid ourselves.
All throughout the year, it culminates in one episode annually, and it's this episode right here. Galen and I have been friends for 2 millennia or 2 decades, we're not sure. Actually, more than that. I don't remember. Anyway, we're best friends, aren't we, Galen?
Yeah.
But it ends today!
I thought it ended a year ago today.
And it ends today!
Oh, okay.
And then we come back and we do it all over again. We are judging games that came out in the year of our gourd, 2020. In this arbitrary 365 day a year time span. It makes no sense why this is why, but it just is. It just is. We have an award show. Galen, why don't you read off the 7 categories?
You know what? I was going to let you finish. Let me take it from here. So we have 7 categories that we have tons of games that are contending for.
But don't read out the games just yet. Don't read out the nominations. Just read out the 7 categories. We're trying to...
Well, you got to leave those surprises when they actually do come up. Such as our first category of biggest surprise as a positive in games. Not to be confused with our biggest embarrassment or biggest controversy event of 2020. We also want to recognize the best new character that has graced our TV screens this year. But we also want to take a nod and take a look at some of the best non-2020 games that we've been playing. Of course, we have our best Paperweight, which is a game that we bought but just never played it. It has literally just been sitting on the shelf. And kind of cycling off of that, we also have the biggest disappointment in a game of 2020. But all of this culminates into our final compromised Game of the Year award.
That's right. It's never your Game of the Year. It's never my Game of the Year. But it is the one that we can agree on between the two of us.
There are going to be resurrections. There are going to be like moments of enlightenment. Like, it's going to be an intense episode.
Resurrections, origins, chronicles, all of the generic endings that you put into a video game title.
This entire episode is going to be Nomura as fuck.
Oh boy. So strap yourselves in with all of those belts. The format of the show is basically we bring a couple of nominations, and then we talk about them from least to top. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
And we fight until we choose equally on how that goes. We have stolen this format from Giant Bomb and the great Let's Fight a Boss podcast. Both of those podcasts are great. You should listen to them, but please don't stop listening to ours. I know it'll be
a challenge.
A challenge. Once you've traded up, it'll be hard to be like, oh, I've been eating shit this whole time. Why have I been listening to? It doesn't matter. It's fine. So, Galen, let us unsheathe the Master Sword. Oh, who chooses? Oh, let's flip a coin.
Okay. You got a coin?
No.
All right.
Hold on.
Okay, I've got a coin right here.
Oh, you
Heads
do?
or tails?
Oh, do you have an internet coin?
Yeah.
Okay,
Heads
that's
or tails?
good. Well, first off, before I choose, I'm going to say I won't believe you, no matter which you say, because you're a liar. And that's how we're starting off the show. I choose tails. Miles, Prowler.
It came up tails.
Oh.
So, go ahead and begin.
Cool. I guess it's my turn first off. So here we are. Actually, we're doing this in the wrong order. This is what you get with the Nintendo Everything podcast. I'm very sorry. I, Dino, am the first award that we will give out is biggest surprise in a video game. Positive. Let's read off the 4 nominees that we have brought to the show in no particular order.
Yes.
No More Heroes 1 and 2 announcement.
I went ahead and put my nomination as just the positive reception and influence that the Animal Crossing New Horizons game has brought about this year.
And then we have the reveal of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
And going off of that, we also have the reveal of Sephiroth as a playable character in the new Smash Bros.
Now, Galen, since this is our Bloodshed episode, just before we get into this award, I really, really want to announce something or address something.
Okay. Announce your addressing.
You keep saying Sephiroth, don't you? With a P.
Sephiroth? No, well, it's PH, right? Sephiroth?
Yeah, which turns into a F sound, an F.
Yes. That's how grammar works.
I swear to Dix that every time you said Sephiroth, you were saying Sephiroth.
Well, I do have like the voluptuous lips, so sometimes they kind of like smack together. So. Oh, this is one of the reasons I wish we had a visual podcast, because your face right now is priceless.
It was like I just ate a lemon.
Yeah, it was very sour. It was like you were experiencing a sourness.
So let's move into it. Biggest surprise in a video game. What's getting the first cut? Oh, this is hard, actually. These are all 4 good ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? No bloodshed just yet. I am going to offer up No More Heroes 1 and 2 announcement as the first cut.
Okay.
You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. So the reason being is that with all of the promotion and that they have been putting behind the No More Heroes 3, and the fact that re-releases and remasters have been kind of the go-to for a lot of the Nintendo games that we have been seeing this year, it made sense when they did say that 1 and 2 was going to be re-released. So
yeah, it wasn't that it came out of nowhere that day. However, leading up to it, I was hoping that it would happen. It didn't come out of nowhere in that regard. It was a fantastic announcement trailer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It had the perfect amount of smarmy cynicism in its announcement. It wasn't like referential Joss Whedonisms, and then there was those stupid trucks that you see like in Japan especially that had No More Heroes written on it. It had a whole bunch of like Windows 95 aesthetic vomiting on the screen. colors, Japanese ladies doing the parade and dance. I will be honest, I screamed at 3 of these announcements. Screamed. And I don't normally do that. I'm not like a hype guy when it comes to watching announcements alone, especially.
Yeah.
I'm not. And this was one of them. And I think actually I screamed the loudest for this announcement because it was just so well executed. I think Cliff, my partner, came downstairs and was like, "What's happening? What, are you okay?" Because I went, you know, as I do.
I'll cut this out first as number 4.
No More Heroes 1 and 2 announcement.
Yes.
I pass over the Master Sword to you!
I am going to go ahead and make a cut from my list as well. I'm actually going to go ahead and cut the Animal Crossing New Horizon Positive Reception nomination.
Nope. No.
No?
You don't. No.
Okay. Why?
I judge
why?
you just to know.
Okay. Why am I not cutting this?
I argue that was such a huge surprise. Nobody expected that. The game sold bajillions, literal bajillions.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the best-selling video games of all. It's one of the fastest-selling, best-selling video games of all time.
Yeah.
People needed that in March when COVID when people were finally accepting COVID as happening, even though it had been happening since like December and January.
Yeah.
Think about it. Animal Crossing, a game with all of these little freaking animal characters that just have like a couple of lines of dialogue and like a catchphrase like Biddy. I like ketchup a lot. That outsold Mario, outsold Zelda, outsold Splatoon even. Mm-hmm. What the fuck?
Honestly, I feel like this, while it is a surprise, and I feel like it does deserve to be on this list, I do want to also acknowledge the fact that the surprise kind of makes sense. I always knew that this game was going to be a success. I mean, you look at the past Animal Crossing games and how well they have sold. Animal Crossing as a whole has been a very profitable series, especially with the later and more recent entries.
But I disagree. Like, I mean, it has been successful and everything, but it's been successful for the casual crowd. And this is one of those, like, Nintendo DS, Nintendo Wii level moments where it's like people who don't play games were playing this game. People bought Switches for this game. And it's bigger than Mario. It's bigger than Zelda.
But I also feel like a lot of this has to do with the world events that were going on. Yeah, of course this game sold really, really well because everybody was thrown into their houses and had nowhere to go and nothing else to do. Why not have a game that you can go ahead and literally escape to a deserted island to? But
I mean, did you expect this game to be such a big... Was the real question here? Was the huge sales, positive reception, enormous zeitgeist that was Animal Crossing New Horizons less surprising than Sephiroth, less surprising than Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity? That's the real question here.
Well, before we make any additional cuts, let's talk about those other two then. So, talking about Sephiroth, this was a surprise. This was super surprising to me. Honestly, I feel like this is Sakurai kind of jumping the shark a little bit.
Really?
Well, think about it. It is this big, momentous thing that is garnering a lot of attention, but also the fact that the Final Fantasy VII Remake did come out this year. So this is something that is kind of fresh on everybody's mind. And even though the remake was in contention for Game of the Year at the Game Awards, they made the announcement also at the Game Awards. Like, they were kind of pairing themselves off of each other. Like, I felt like they specifically were holding off this reveal for this exact set of circumstances. So I feel like this is them catering to a crowd because of what had been going on.
Well, but all those reasons that you mentioned is exactly why I think that it's less surprising. It was very much a surprise. It deserves to be one of these nominees, but I honestly think it's the third biggest surprise out of these 4.
Well, let's also address Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity.
I was very excited about this. I love
Me
Hyrule
too.
Warriors 1. There was a definitive edition on the Switch, so I never thought that we would get a Hyrule Warriors 2 so soon if we did get any. And then this was not only another Hyrule Warriors, it wasn't a sequel, it was its own brand new thing.
Mm-hmm.
The reveal was out of nowhere. There were no leaks, there were no nothing, no rumors, nothing at all.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that Breath of the Wild was kind of on people's minds, because people were already asking, hey, we know
Where's
they're
the
making
sequel?
we know there's going to be a sequel coming up, but to hear about this, to hear that it's a prequel, to hear that it's going back to that Dynasty Warriors-esque like genre, like there were so many facets that just came out of nowhere for this announcement.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I would argue that Age of Calamity's reveal was more surprising than Sephiroth.
Oh,
because
100%.
it came out of nowhere.
Like, okay, full disclosure right now, my personal list is number 4, No More Heroes, number 3, Animal Crossing, number 2, Sephiroth, number 1, Hyrule Warriors.
And for me, number 3, Sephiroth, number 2, Hyrule Warriors, number 1, Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Now, just looking at, in terms of traditional video games, which is a weird thing to say, but like not a download service, not a free-to-play game like, Fortnite or something like that, because I don't think it can compare with that. I also don't have the numbers for it. But Animal Crossing, I think, is the fastest-selling game of all time.
Yeah, no, you're true.
Looking at this list on Wikipedia, all right, list of best-selling video games, it's number 28 at best-selling video game of all time. It came out in March of this year.
Yeah.
There are no other games that come before it in rank between 1 and 27 that released this year. The only one that even comes close is in 2019, Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
You know what? I will also concede to the fact that the importance of its success is not something that anybody could have guessed, because nobody, when they were making this game, when they were advertising this game, when this game got delayed last year.
Right.
Nobody, like, here's the thing. If Animal Crossing had come out last year, I do not think it would have been as successful as it was.
Probably not. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was just
So-
like perfect timing kind of thing, but like,
Grain of salt, but yeah.
yeah, sorry, choice of words. A 28th best-selling video game of all time on this list of 50, not another 2020 entry has appeared at all. I don't
that's
even know
true.
if this includes download sales. Probably it does, but I don't know. It just...
You know what? In setting aside sales numbers, if you look at the impact that this has had on people, the what it did for people on connecting them to their friends, to their family, to strangers, and especially like how it was used for like political activism and political movements as well too, which is something I never would have expected to have been populated within this game.
Yeah, there were people in, like, I think it was Hong Kong and Taiwan talking about like supporting the Hong Kong protests.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, it turned into a means of people communicating in ways that were not expected. There was somebody who, I think they lost their Switch. I remember hearing a story. They lost their Switch, and so they contacted somebody using the Animal Crossing in that very Switch that was lost and got it back to its owner somehow.
That's awesome.
Just cool shit,
All right, I'll give Animal Crossing the number 1 spot then.
I think that's what we have to do, man. So at number 4, No More Heroes 1 and 2 announcement. Number 3, Galen?
Honestly, I'm still thinking Sephiroth. I'm still taking Hyrule Warriors over Sephiroth as far as like placements on that list. So.
I agree. Sephiroth at number 3. Number 2 is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And number 1,
Animal Crossing New Horizons, positive reception.
there we have it. I didn't expect us to argue already about the first one.
Hey, it's, to be expected. I've been like holding in my Animal Crossing love all year.
Well, Galen, I don't know if you should really hold that in. You're supposed to let those out. Moving on, though.
Speaking of embarrassments.
Galen. Yeah, moving on. On a bit more of a serious note here. Biggest embarrassment / biggest controversy of 2020. Honestly, we only have 2 nominees because Galen put in his nominees first before I got a chance to. And Galen, what are your 2 nominees here?
So, my 2 nominees are Cyberpunk 2077 and everything that is going on with CD Projekt Red. And my second one, I literally just wrote down Ubisoft. Just Ubisoft.
And there was nothing I could put down, because those were the 2 things that were on my mind, and then nothing that I could put down that really compared to that.
Yeah, he just put same.
I'm going to do something unprecedented here.
Okay.
We're going to talk about why both of these are on the list. Galen, would you like to take one of these off of my hands, and then I will put the other one?
Tell you what, I'll take the Cyberpunk one because I feel a little bit more knowledgeable on that.
Okay.
So.
Abridged version, why is this on the list?
There are elements of transphobic tendencies within CD Projekt Red over the past year or 2 that have kind of culminated themselves in this game. There are also, of course, the incredibly poor state that the game was released in for consoles, making it unplayable to the point where they had to start issuing refunds, which surprised everybody, including the publishers themselves on Sony and Microsoft's part.
Distributors is what you mean.
Distributors, that's the word I meant to say. Overall, poor reception from a company that a lot of people had some really high expectations for, considering its
not to mention all
history.
of the crunch.
Oh yeah, and that was another reason why a lot of people were really disappointed, was just the amount of crunch that they put everybody through in the last couple of months after the first couple of delays.
Also, not to mention there's a class action lawsuit currently. The investors, I think, some of the investors, which is totally ass backwards, because I'm sure that some of the investors were some of the reason why the game was pushed out.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? So it's like shitting where you
100%.
eat and then being like, someone's shitting my food that I eat.
No, the developers themselves actively went out and said, hey, listen, this game is not playable. We need more time. The expectations that you are putting forward are unreasonable if you want this game to be a success. And they flat out ignored them.
So, like, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going on here. All I know is that it is a huge embarrassment of 2020 in the saddest way possible. I am unfortunately glad that it's coming to light, I should say, because we've talked about this already before. I don't want to tread water, but hopefully this will lead to improvements in the industry. That's all I can hope for. But anyway, It deserves to be on this list.
Seriously, what happened?
Yes. Well, actually, you know what? Matt McMuscles, speaking of that, Matt McMuscles, who does a wonderful series on YouTube called Wahapa, is he's already put out tweets. He's like, listen, everybody is asking me about this. I don't want to just like do the story for the sake of it being the hot topic right now. I want it to be something I do, you know, a couple months down the line when we know more of what's going on, when shit settles a bit more.
Yeah, there's a lot of dust up in the air right now.
Right.
So
and man, good on Matt McMuscles, because that is awesome. Because
absolutely.
Especially with YouTube algorithms and shit, it is so easy to just be like, yeah, let's put out a video. Like, who cares what's in the video? You got to put out a video that is plus 10 minutes long, and it's got to have the right thumbnail, and it's got to have the right keywords in it, and then it's smooth sailing to algorithm land, you know? But he's not doing that.
I know.
Which is awesome.
That made me think about something. Did the Cooking Mama stuff happen this year, or was that last year?
Who knows? It was probably this year.
Probably. Okay, honorable mention for that.
Yeah, honorable mention of that, because that was pretty crazy. That was when, not the distributor, but I think the developer and the publisher argued with each other about releasing it, and then suddenly it came out of nowhere, and it was poorly
Oh no, shit. That did come out this year, March 31st.
Okay. It was poorly developed to the point where, as some developers know, Unity can really overheat hardware, and it was making Switches not overheat, but like run really hot. And then there was some tweet that was brought up because people were trying to figure out why is Cooking Mama out of all of these games running so hot on my Switch? My fan is going crazy.
And that brought up some old things of like people trying to saying, hey, can we do bit mining with Cooking Mama, because somebody used it as a buzzword in some investor meeting, not knowing what the hell that actually meant.
That was nuts.
Yeah.
It was weird for sure.
It was. Yeah, I think the other two things we have on this list trump it. So I'm not going to put too much effort into this, but look it up because that was crazy.
Also, Galen, we have to say a synonym for that word because 2020 now, that word is cursed. We can't say it anymore. On to Ubisoft. Why Ubisoft is on this list. A huge...
Because Ubisoft.
Well, yes, but I mean, even more than just Ubisoft. Just Ubisoft and what they've been doing behind closed doors, allegedly, for years now, is basically sweeping complaints of sexual misconduct under the rug for years. Harboring predators, offenders, horrible, horrible shit. It has made me cancel a pre-order for one of their games, made me say, hey, we're not going to cover it on this podcast. It's been that bad, you know?
Yeah.
I want to basically do an anticlimactic thing here and say that these are both very serious things. And I think that saying that one is more serious than the other is disrespectful to those affected, and just give a dual award, the shiniest gold trophy, to both of these situations.
You know, and I think that has something to do with the fact where even when trying to come up nominations for this particular category, we couldn't come up with anything more serious than these two, which begged like competition.
Absolutely. Even before then, before we recorded this, I was thinking, should we leave both of these off because they are so serious? And then because I think we actually did that last year with something, probably the Blizzard situation. I think I left that off of the list because it was a serious situation. I was like, you know what, it's serious and it doesn't deserve to be talked about in sort of like a joking manner or something. But then I was like, you know what, let's do the inverse this time. We have two very serious situations. Let's do the inverse. Kick everything else off the list and be like, no, these are the two things, man. This is serious. This is affecting the industry. This is affecting human people's lives. People crunching at Cyberpunk 2077 to make a game that turned out horrible on consoles, and then probably have to crunch some more to try and retroactively, which is so hard to patch this game into some sort of playable state. And I mean, how disheartening is that? How horrible. Can you imagine doing that for half a year, who knows how long, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then let alone the people who were affected, who were completely ignored, whose lives were changed and were probably traumatized over sexual misconduct and not being heard and just being felt like, you know what, it doesn't matter. This is what you have to deal with as a person.
And just also acknowledging like Ubisoft's stance as a whole and their response to all this as these things were coming up. It was so lackluster and done at face value. Like there was no sincerity behind any of their apologies.
No, Ubisoft is such a toothless company when it comes to so many things. Like they're the ones that put out The Division, right? And they're like, oh, The Division isn't political. And it's like, what? You know what I mean? They don't want to say nothing because they don't want to upset anybody, because they don't want to lose sales. That's ultimately what matters to them.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we must move on. Both of these are a huge embarrassment, a huge controversy, and they both are deserving of this award.
Okay, bye.
Let's pick it back up. Galen, what's the next category?
So, next category is Best New Character that we have met this year and the year of our gourd 2020.
Right. A much lighter topic, keeping it light for the rest of this show.
So, my 2 nominations, I'm going to throw them out there right now. First one is Terrico, the little R2-D2 guy that you meet in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And a personal one for me, Gale. He is the wizard that is your friend and party member in Baldur's Gate 3.
And then my 2 nominations are the Bob-omb from Paper Mario the Origami King.
Mm-hmm.
And Zagreus from Hades, the main character.
Yeah.
Galen, I think before we even go into this list, you need to tell me, who is Gale?
Okay.
What does he do? Who is his daddy and what does he do?
So Gale is a prodigy wizard. He has garnered the attention and affection of Mystra, the goddess of magic, and straight up slept with her. Like, they had a fling going on for a while. He ended up losing favor with her, and in an effort to try to get favor back, he tried to get some forbidden magic that had been locked away from herself. Doing so, it ended up getting trapped inside of him, and if he ever dies, that magic gets released and will basically explode. He's basically a walking A-bomb, essentially.
He's an evil bomb.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, like, the first time that you learn about all this is when he dies, he has a magical projection that comes out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, hey, by the way, I have a scroll of true resurrection hidden in my body. You have to do all of these different things in order to make that accessible to you to revive him. And when you revive him, he's like, oh my God, thank you so much. You saved a lot of people. You're probably wondering why. Let's talk about this later.
So tell me a bit about his personality. I've got the backstory on him.
Yeah. So first time you meet him, he is smarmy, high-class wizard. Like, you know, even if you are a wizard class yourself, when he's talking to you, he's like, there's an air of magic about you, but it's nothing compared to what I'm normally used to. But I guess you'll do as a party member in a pinch. But you end up talking to him more, and he starts talking about these stories from, you know, tense situations that he has defused through conversation and lateral thinking. And you kind of find out that he really, you know, the smarminess is more of a side effect on him just being a good person. He's actually one of my favorite people to have in the party because the way I play the game, he agrees with a lot of the things that I do.
He's your yes man.
Well, kind of. Like, in the game, there's an element where you can release a goblin from an encampment, and the goblin, you know, basically there's this warring faction of goblins that are going against this pack of druids. If you release the goblin, the druids find out, you're basically going to make an enemy of all the druids themselves. But you're wanting to release them because you're trying to get into this goblin encampment to save the leader of the druids itself. So it's bad action for a good cause.
Interesting. Is he a driving force in the game? Like, is he one of the main...
No, you can go the entire game and not even bring him along in your party. It's completely separate.
Okay.
Even though he has this, like, I'm literally courting and trying to court the goddess of magic, like, that is a subplot to what you've actually got going on. So that almost makes it more personal on if you want to invest yourself in his story, you can. And it's enticing enough of his story that you feel like it's something you should do, but it's 100% optional.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Because
Cool.
I was like, what is this? What? You know what? We have not been paying attention, but I think it is your turn to cut somebody. So why don't you?
It would have been had we done option number 2 the right way. Since this is a pass, I think I will give the Master Sword to you for this one.
I think it's your turn though. Really? You want me to go?
Yeah, make the first cut.
All right. Out of the 4 names I'm looking at here, I'm thinking Terrico needs to go.
Okay. I'll accept that. Just take him out. And honestly, a lot of it has to do with the fact that my only interaction with him has been in the demo of Age of Calamity.
Well, that sounds like an excellent reason for you to put him on a nomination for Best New Character of this year.
Hey, he's really cute. He's a great mascot. What can I say?
He is very cute. I did have instant affection for him when I saw him. Let me explain what little I know about him.
Okay. Because you're pretty far into Age of Calamity, right?
And I know very little about him.
Okay.
That's why I think he's number 4 on this list. There are mysteries, that's for sure. And I hear this story gets wacky. And I think I'm in chapter 6, the very beginning of chapter 6. I think there's only 7 chapters in this game.
Oh,
I know I'm near the end. I don't really know anything about him other than... Oh, by the way, should have said this way earlier. Spoilers for any game that we're going to bring up. Just because when you're talking about things, and fighting on this, it's going to be inevitable at some point. So potential spoilers for anything that we're going to talk about. So
yeah.
Moving forward, I'm going to spoil a little bit of stuff with Hyrule Warriors. Don't know the end. I don't know, anything after this. But up until chapter 5, he doesn't really do anything. He accompanies Link. He plays music. He plays like Zelda's lullaby for Zelda, and it gives her like some flashbacks. So there's like some mysteries there. It's like, what's going on? And I want to know, but he doesn't have a personality just yet. He's cute, and he like gives Impa a little bit of sass, which is cute. But there's also an evil version of him, unless there's like a time paradox thing. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I have some suspicions.
Okay.
That's why Terrico, if that is your real name, belongs at number 4, Best New Character 2020.
All right. I guess it's my turn now.
Yep.
This is kind of a tough one for me. I'm going to go ahead and axe Zagreus. For 2 reasons. One, as a player character, while he is very personal, I feel like his archetype is something that we have already seen. We've seen it in other characters.
What is his archetype, Galen, to you?
Cool guy with daddy issues.
How much Hades have you played?
Moving on.
Okay, because I've played a shit ton of Hades now.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
It's not cool guy with daddy issues.
Really?
Yeah.
From what I have played so far, that has been the impression that I get. But it's interesting to see that changes up.
Yeah, I mean, after your second or third run, it really does. I think you need to play more Hades. Because...
Oh, probably. That is 100% on my list.
You basically learn that his mother is not who he thinks is his mother.
I knew that.
Okay.
I got that bit.
And his motivation shifts entirely. Like, his father being Hades is such a backdrop right now, at least where I am at in the story, to, what's going on
to this
for him.
larger mystery of, like, what's going on here.
And at no point is he ever like, oh, my stupid father, blah, 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 like, ever, in my experience. If he has, it's been such a throwaway comment that I didn't even, like, record it in my brain. He has all of these interpersonal relationships with all of these characters. I would love to see, and I don't know, how much more this goes into it. I'd love to see these characters interacting with each other, but I really love Zagreus's interactions with every character. You learn so much about it, and you learn so much about the story of the game through him in well-told ways.
Okay.
And he's such a nice guy, which usually is like a boring trope, but there's history there in so many of his lines.
Yeah. So,
I'm not vetoing your choice. I'm just saying that we should...
Here's the other thing.
All right.
the second reason I wanted to axe him as number 3 is because technically Hades has been out prior to 2020. Like, there's a big asterisk on that part, and I don't want that to be like the defining reason why I'm taking out his character. But with that being said, there is a little bit of a notation here.
Yes, I agree, except I think it is a very tiny asterisk, because though this game has been out for like a good year and a half, it has been in alpha and beta for a year and a half. It is not
correct.
It has not gone full game.
Yeah.
And then just been ported to Switch this year. It launched officially this year. I am not vetoing your choice because I have not beaten Hades yet. So I can't say whether that goes really good or goes really bad. When I beat Hades though, and if it does go really good, you best believe it on Nintendo Everything Podcast episode 120, whatever the hell, I will come for your throat.
Fair enough. I will stay on guard for that. But that means that you believe Bob-omb is a higher choiced pick than Zagreus. So let's talk about him, because kind of like how you knew nothing about Gale, really I know nothing about the Bob-omb character other than what you've spoiled to me in the past.
He's literally the best Mario character. I mean, he's the best partner character you've ever had in any Paper Mario game. That includes characters like Vivian, whom I love. She has such a good arc. She has such a good story that leads up to even before you even know that she's going to be your partner in Thousand Year Door. She's being bullied by her sisters, and you think that it's just going to be like a comedy thing that they do, you know, where like one's the really mean one, one's the stupid one, and one's the one that gets picked on, you know what I mean? But that's part of her story arc. Bob-omb, Babunosuke, he has so much going on, and it is done so well, because when you meet him, the game almost breaks the fourth wall where it's like, okay, so hey, what's up? You meet him on a chairlift, and you're going up to this autumnal field, and you're like, hey, what's going on? What's your name? He's like, Bob-omb. Oh, should we call you Bobby? Should we call you, this, that? No, just Bob-omb. That's it. Because none of the characters none of the partners have names really. And
yeah.
He starts off and he doesn't even tell you about any of this. It's so inconspicuous. He's missing a part of him. And of course, spoilers. I've already spoiled this and ruined it for a couple of people at least, and I feel really bad about
spoilers.
it. I literally can't stop thinking about two of our most lovely listeners who comment, RZ, Neptunius Beard, thinking about you guys and how I ruined this game for you. So Bobby is missing his wick. He's a bomb, missing his wick. You don't really realize it because you're just looking at whatever. And later on you find out that, well, he's lost his memory, and you're going on this journey with him to get his memory back. Actually, vice versa. He's going on this journey with you because he's like, I don't know, I'm just living life, man. I am just Vibes, the video game character. You figure out he was on a cruise ship. He got knocked off. That's how he lost his memory, lost his wick. And his friends all died. And I'm not just saying that, like, oh, he has a tragic story, so that's why he's the character. His dialogue is written so well. I sometimes take screenshots of good dialogue. I took so many screenshots of just shit Bobby said. Love that man. And then later on it ends in the most... And again,
yeah,
spoilers.
I was about to say, like, if you want to hear the full impression, because you made a very good argument and a very, like, I remember when you told me about this originally, and it was like very fresh to you, and just how impactful it was.
Yeah. This was back in August of this year.
Yeah.
And so you can hear that episode and hear full impressions there. But basically, and spoilers, if you haven't played this part of the game, or if you're going to play this part of the game, please skip this part. I don't want to spoil it for you. Okay. There is a boulder in your way, and then this boulder then crushes your other partner, your partner Bobby Bobanosuke, gets his wick. He gets it through this excellent quest that I've already described in another episode. And he uses his friend's wick in his own head to self-sacrifice himself with an explosion to save you and your friend and keep your journey going. And he has this excellent scene. He has 2 full character arcs.
And that's not even the end of it, because he has other impacts within the game too.
He has a ghost that comes back, and I'm like, well, surely he didn't die. No, that bitch died. So died.
All right. So, you have a character that I'm not very familiar with. I have a character that you're not very familiar with. So, let me ask you, in your opinion, how does your ranking go for Best New Character 2020?
Bobby number 1, all others, I don't even know their names. I would die for that man. I will show you, Galen. Can you see it?
I can. And he's missing the wick too.
I have a Bob-omb plush here without a wick. It is actually a tissue box. You pull tissues out.
That's cute.
The wick is the tissues. However, I intentionally do not have tissues in it because I think of Bobby. I think about him every day. He is sitting on my desk here when I work. I love him so much.
So I'm going to put forward that our rankings for this go Terrico, spot number 4, Zagreus, spot number 3, Gale, spot number 2, Bob-omb, Bobby, spot number 1. Because, and I will concede this simply because a lot of the character interaction that you get with Gale is potentially optional. While I feel like it's very engaging and it's very nice to kind of have this character whose mentality of, I understand that that bad actions can justify themselves for a good cause overall, and that's a very important part of his character. I do not feel like it is impactful as what Bobby the Bob-omb does in that story. So I will concede that that Bob-omb gets spot number 1.
Damn right you are. Bobby, we love you. A posthumous award of Best New Character 2020. Moving on, let's pick up the pace here.
All right, so next up we have Best Non-2020 Game of 2020. That's a phrase.
Galen. What are your nominations? Hurry up. Come on. We gotta
nominations,
cut the fat.
My nominations are Dragon's Crown Pro, which I played early 2020 with my wife, and Among Us, which I guess is kind of a 2020 game, kind of not. It's complicated. I'll get into that in a minute. Oni, what are yours?
Mine is The Sinking City. And The Missing, J.J. Macfield and the Island of Memories.
Neat. All right. So, you know what? Instead of axing them right from the beginning, let's talk about all of them, and then we can do our rankings.
No.
All right.
No.
Ball's in your court. What do? You get first cut.
Wait a second. Are we sure?
Yes.
Yeah, because you chose.
I did number
Bobby.
1. Yeah.
Dragon's Crown Pro, number 4.
Really? Okay.
I've not played this game, so let me know if you want to fight for this. But I remember you having a good time with it, but then having some quite middling things to say about it later on. You were having some frustrations with it. Your breakdown early in this year on this game was very intriguing, and it really made me want to play it. How about you speak a little bit to it and let me know if you think it's number 4 or not?
Well, I remember one of the reasons why this game was so memorable to me this year was because it was a game that I played along with my wife in a co-op capacity. And it's very hard to find anybody who will play games with me in general because I'm a terrible partner. But I do remember getting excited when playing this, and we both having a pretty good time, especially with the animation style and the classic. It is a classic side-scrolling beat 'em up in a lot of ways. So It was a lot of fun. I'm not going to fight for this, though, on it being in spot 4. Simply because I feel like with this list in particular, it is very personable. Because I haven't played either of the 2 games that you've recommended. You haven't played either of the 2 games I've recommended. So, right. I mean, I feel like stronger arguments can be made for other games on this list. Yeah. So, yeah. Fantastic game. Super cheap too, especially if you can like find it nowadays when it goes on sale.
Yeah, it goes for like a tenner.
I'll go ahead and cut this one as well.
All right.
Master Sword is in my hand. This
you
may
have
be
the Triforce of Turdage.
So I am actually going to attempt a swing at the missing. Simply because from what you have described of this game to me, I 100% believe that the impact in it is purely in the story and the way that it is delivered to you. And because of the nature of that story, I really believe it is very subjective to the actual recipient. So because of that interpretation, I think this needs to be a lower spot on the list.
I'm not gonna fight for it. Not for those reasons.
Okay.
But for a couple of reasons here.
Gotcha.
The game, gameplay-wise, is functional and fine. From time to time, it's nice, but other times it's just like, ugh. So, that is a flaw with it. Sometimes I felt like I was just like f***ing myself across the screen in hopes that I would get through this particular puzzle. It was awesome when it worked. I got really lucky in the very last area where I happened to nail a puzzle in the right exact way, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that that's what I was supposed to do, but I got through it, and that's great. I have a feeling that was luck and that was not good design. I can't imagine how difficult that would probably be to figure out if you just didn't get the luck. So there are moments like that that lower it on this list for me. There was also one other major thing, but I want to kind of give it a bit of a eulogy first, as we're going to cut it at number 3 here.
Okay.
Again, full-on spoilers. If you want to hear about this game, I want to say a month and a half ago, I talked about it in an episode, and I did very minor spoilers there, like very minor. So go ahead and go back and listen to that. But this is going to be full-on spoilers for the very end of the game and the epilogue and everything. So going into that right now. Pause the episode if you don't want to hear it, because it's a good story. I do recommend this game. It's on this list for a reason. The game is about LGBT stuff, difficulties associated with that. Growing up, feeling different, feeling unaccepted by your own family, by your community, not knowing how to explain that to the people that are closest to you, because you don't even know what you're going through entirely yourself, perhaps. You're still trying to figure it out, and you're in that unfair as fuck position where you're trying to figure out everything. And it's not fair to have those two things to balance. How to tell your parents because you want to tell them the right way. Or your friends or your family, anybody, your loved ones. You want to tell them the right way so that way it comes across the best way, but how do you tell them when you don't even know what's going on entirely? Damn it, I said another damn it! I'm doing more editing for myself each time I say. And that's all excellent. The writing is so good and so believable, and I mean, I would dare say that 9 out of 10 LGBTQ people have had these exact conversations in JJ's phone with their parents, with their loved ones. It's so believable, so well written. At the very end of the story, you realize that you, JJ, are a trans woman, and that's what this was about. And this was all kind of a mental, journey that you went on when you had just attempted suicide and you were being resuscitated. There's so many stories. I'm not faulting it for this. There's so many stories about like LGBTQ issues that are centered around pain and suffering and blah blah blah, because it is a hard process. It sucks that there are if there are any of those at all, which there are very few of them, despite what people say on the internet about being assaulted by the gays and the queers, about, you know, the SJWs putting all these gay characters in there. They hardly exist. These characters hardly exist in media, so that's not true. But when they very infrequently do, it's always a sad story, that kind of thing. So it's unfortunate that it's that, but it is a well-told version of that, so, you know, that's cool. And when you kind of come to reality, you are pre-transition, and it's a happy ending. You don't die, you live on, and you transition to be the trans woman that you always have been. There is one New Game Plus aspect of it that I hate, that I absolutely hate. And this is why I say, like, I loved 95% of this game. You can choose to be your pre-transition self in a New Game Plus as a second playthrough in the game, which I think is awful. I think that's really awful because, I mean, it's just a cosmetic kind of thing. When there's already lots of really great costumes in the game, there's really great costumes, and they're unlocked through collecting things throughout the environment.
That does seem a little counterproductive.
Yes. So there's so many great visual things, but then to have that as your bonus for beating the game and then you play through it again is disrespectful to trans people. Really disrespectful. So I really don't like that that's in there. But anyway, I wanted to talk about that a little bit as we cut it right here. Number 3.
Yeah.
Best non-2020 game. It is still a game I highly recommend.
Yeah, it sounds like it is. All right, Master Sword's in your hand. What are you going to try to cut?
So it comes down to this: Among Us or The Sinking City. One game I've played definitely, one game you've played definitely, and nothing in between that. Before I choose, Galen, why don't you tell me what is so special about Among Us as the best game? The best non-2020 game of.
Well, and that's primarily the thing. It is a game that came out back in 2018. It has been out for a while, and a lot of people it flew under the radar for them. However, because of 2020, because there has been this public outcry for connection with other people and just generally wanting to play games. I mean, it's one of the main reasons why Fall Guys was as popular as it was this year, because it was something fun that people could do together in a group. I feel like this is one of those things, and I really do feel that this is a fantastic game when you are playing it with friends. But you have to have that mentality, and you have to understand what the game is wanting you to do. It's not about winning. It's about the lies you make with your friends along the way.
And this is basically... Oh God, somebody put this really well in our Discord chat that we did a week or so ago. I forgot what they described this game as. Do you remember?
Oh, it's Mafia or Werewolves or something like that. Like, there's other social deduction games that have come out that have emulated this kind of a style, but it's the overall package on how kind of cutesy everything is. It's just like, it's aesthetically pleasing. You don't feel rushed or anything. The only, anxiety that you could possibly build up in the game itself is from what you're talking about in the friends and that urge of, are they gonna call me out on this?
That's interesting because everything that you've been describing, like over the months about this game, has been it sounded very stressful to me. So it's interesting that you say it's not a stressful experience.
No, it does a blend. It does a very interesting blend on like distracting you from kind of that, social anxiety aspect by making everything rather colorful, and the mini games are rather simple too. Like, there's not a lot of, oh my god, if I don't get this, I'm going to lose and let down everybody. Like, it literally is, everybody is on the same team except for one person. Let's find out who that one person is.
There's one critical flaw with this game though that you've brought up.
There's a couple.
Okay.
But yeah, go on.
Well, one I was going to bring up is that this game can be just straight up not fun if you're not playing with friends.
if you are playing with random people, it is kind of a crapshoot. Because again, I've played online with random people who want to win. They don't want to have fun. And if you go in and it's like, hey, this person is sus, you have to vote this person. And then everybody else is just
do they say that word, by the way, in the game?
Well, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that because this is a game where if you don't have voice chat, you need to use the keyboard or something like that. There's a lot of shorthand that kind of goes along with it.
Okay, because I was wondering, why are you, a man in his 30s, saying the word sus?
Because I'm hip and with it, cool kids.
Go on.
Hit to the jive, turkey. No.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. But yeah, it's sometimes because everything is timed when you're trying to make your arguments, you want to take those grammatical shortcuts. And instead of saying, hey, I think Pink is being very suspect because they were in this other place when they said they were actually over on the other side of the ship, you could just be like, Pink is sus. They were in reactor. And that's a lot easier to type out.
Yeah.
The reason I'm kind of thinking this is I think this is our number one list just because of the cultural impact that this game has had in this year. Like, I can't think of any other game that came out a few years ago that kind of had a resurgence.
That is honestly amazing. And, this game was basically discovered, quote unquote, by streamers.
Yeah.
And that's how it really took off, showing the disgustingly disproportionate influence that influencers have on the genre.
I mean, that is a conversation for another day.
Yes.
So.
For once, their power was used for good with this game. And
exactly.
I think that's awesome. That's why I'm going to cut The Sinking City for number 2.
Okay.
The Sinking City is a great Eurojank game. It is,
that 100% makes sense to me.
It's so janky on any platform you play it on, but there is so much creativity and passion in this game, doing lots of fun things about discovery, being a detective, cutting corners in creative ways for a small team. A team that just makes a bunch of games that they really want to, and fighting against their publishers. I think they got screwed over by multiple different publishers for multiple different games, this one included.
I know there was a bit of a struggle with them.
By the way, speaking of this, the reason I bought it on Switch primarily, not only just being portable, but it looks to be self-published on the Switch eShop.
Nice.
So if you want to get this game, if it sounds like your thing, just check out the Switch version because it's fine. It looks better on other consoles, but it's got jank everywhere, so don't worry about the Switch version also having jank.
Yeah.
It is a detective game, but also has survival horror. The creature design is really great. However, there's really only like 5 creatures in that whole game. The shooting and the movement and stuff definitely feels like a little goofy. The game is honestly best played on easy mode as opposed to normal mode, just because there's lots of times when I was playing on normal, I was like, this is unsatisfying because I feel like the controls were the reason that I died or the reason that I missed the whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm having a great time playing it on easy, and that's my honestly recommended way to play this game. There's lots of flaws with this game, and it was such a brilliant discovery. It's got Lovecraftian shit in it. A enormous racist Lovecraft. So that's not the developer's fault, that's for sure. But yeah, it's number 2. Do check it out, though.
Very cool.
Making Among Us number 1.
Recapping our list, this means that Dragon's Crown Pro takes our number 4 slot. We've got The Missing taking number 3, The Sinking City number 2, and Among Us number 1 as our best non-2020 game of 2020.
A game I've never played.
There you go. Moving on the list, we have Best Paperweight, i.e. game we bought but never played.
Yep.
Oni, I actually have games that can fit into this category as opposed to last year where I played the things that I recommended before.
Well, you have one.
I mean, I guess that's true, but we'll get into that in a sec.
We'll get to that right now. Why don't you tell everybody what your nominations are?
So, my nominations are Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon for the Switch and Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered. Asterisk, I'm talking about the demo version. I didn't actually buy the game. But
which is?
I feel that I can make a case for this. So say yours and then we'll go into it.
Okay, well, I mean, you can sure try and make a case for it, but the title is literally Game We Bought But Never Played.
I'll get into that in a second. Say your stuff.
My nominees are...
I play the games I buy. Why am I being punished for that?
Only in this category. Okay. Victimizing self.
Okay, tell us about the games you haven't played.
I've been trying.
You just haven't gotten around to it yet.
You just keep interrupting me. Interruptia. My games are Moon, the anti-RPG.
Okay.
And Shinsekai. I think it has a subtitle and I can't remember. Hold on.
Full disclosure, I haven't heard of either of these games, so I'm going to need some help here.
That's because you're uncultured swine.
Yeah,
Shinsekai Into the Depths. And I know you've heard about them because we've talked about both of them on the podcast.
Okay.
Shinsekai is a little game developed and published by Capcom. It's on Switch. It is basically Metroidvania underwater.
Oh, okay. I do remember this now.
It looks great. It looks really, really great.
Neat. Too bad you never played it.
Can't wait to.
All right. So this is kind of a weird category to kind of go off of. Tell me about Moon.
Okay. So Moon is an anti-JRPG. It is a game that came out only on the PlayStation back in 97. Forgotten about. Nobody, nothing. But the people that played it were impacted by it because it is doing a whole bunch of cool shit that is very Undertale-esque. I don't understand Undertale. I haven't played it. I'm not interested. Please send your letters to Galen about it.
So I've never played Undertale.
You play as like this little guy. First off, you're a kid that gets sucked into this adventure, and then you play as this like little kind of guy, NPC kind of thing. And the antagonist of this game is the hero of a JRPG, and he's going around slaying a whole bunch of monsters, and you are connecting their souls together. And there's no fighting in this game. It's about learning characters and rectifying the destruction, basically, that the main hero has, which is your enemy, done by killing, creatures and stuff. It just completely turns conventions on its head. And I can't wait to play it because I never thought that this would ever see a localization, let alone on the Switch. It's very special to me despite not ever having played it. Why are you talking about your games?
All right, well, I also acknowledge that it's my turn to make first cut, so I'll take that into consideration here. So with my games, we have the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered demo. So there's a reason that I put this game on my list. I have played the original Crystal Chronicles in the past. I have always had an interest in the game. However, every time I was ever playing it, it was always in a party setting. And I was always the one, because I didn't have all the experience with the game, not owning a copy myself. I was the only one, always the one stuck moving the chalice, and it very singled out my experience with the game itself. So when they heard about this remaster, when they went ahead and told that, hey, you can get the first couple of levels for free, try out this demo, and by having this demo, you can play it with other people, That's awesome to me. I would love to have this as an excuse to get into this game with a newer mindset. Not only did I never try out the demo solo, I also did not have anybody who I could play the game with. So I feel like there's a couple of different levels that are kind of going on to how much of a paperweight this game actually is for me.
I feel like it's weightless because you didn't buy the damn game. It's just demo.
Which is why I will make this cut number 1.
Damn right you will.
I acknowledge the gigantic asterisk that's next to this one, but honestly, when I was thinking about games that I downloaded but didn't play, like, this is one of the first ones that came to mind. And fun note, this is actually within the last month the first time I've had to go and actually delete a game from my Switch because I was running out of hardware space.
That you aren't even ever going to play. Get this shit, this weak shit, off this list at number 4.
All right, that's off number 4. Passing it off to you.
All right, so Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, Moon, and Shinsekai.
I should also probably talk a little bit about Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon.
Chocobo's Ministry Dungeon? Oh,
Ministry Dungeon. Yeah. It's where you go and fill out Chocobo's taxes, specifically for his Gessel Green addiction. But it's this is a really fun game. I remember playing the original Chocobo's Dungeon for the PlayStation, and you are in they're randomly generated dungeons, correct? Yes.
This is a very light roguelite.
Exactly. Different classes that your Chocobo can go ahead and take, different partners that you can go ahead and go with. Everything is completely turn-based in the sense of every action you make will, after you take that turn, everything else on the board will go ahead and make a move. And it's done in a way that it is going to the pace that you want to set. And in fact, we did an entire episode specifically spoiling this particular game.
Yeah.
So when I noticed this game was on sale, I recognized how much I love the Chocobo Mystery Dungeon franchise. This was an easy buy for me when it went on sale, and I have not opened the game since.
All right. With that said, I'm going to cut Shinsekai at number 3.
Alrighty. Any particular reason number 3?
I know very little about it other than it looks very beautiful. It looks like it plays very nicely as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way it looks in motion. I know enough about Moon and Chocobo's Dungeon and why I think that both of those are very special. Mm-hmm. So I'll get to this game, but I will not get to it as quickly as some others. So there it is, number 3.
Exactly. And I guess I'm making the next cut, and this is where the argument will happen. I'm going to judge this based on the fact of how much I really should be playing this game and how much I want to play this game, yet have not. So I'm going to cut the Moon because I really should play Mystery Dungeon. I just haven't.
All right, and here's where I fight for it. Because I know that this game is special AF, and I will use your exact same criteria that you're using for Chocobo's Dungeon for Moon, not the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do this then? Because I big ol' disagree. I should have my lovely Dutch boy Thor High Heels to come onto this podcast and...
You're going Irish there.
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to.
What could have Thor High Heels?
Oh my goodness. Well, if you want to be a racist.
Yeah, I know exactly what I did there.
Yeah. Galen, if he's nothing else, he's a racist.
You know what?
Has... What?
I will concede Moon to you.
This game just does shit that so few games since in the last 20 plus years, nearly 25 years now, have not done.
Yeah.
Yet, those who have played it have gone on to make things like Undertale. Toby Fox made Undertale, and this is one of his biggest influences. And also the artist for this,
So you're saying to me the reason why we're not influencers is because you haven't played this game?
There's so many things wrong with your sentence. So many things I hate about it. The artist, Kazuyuki Kawashima, I want to say. I can't remember his last name, I'm sorry. He also did the art for Super Mario RPG just prior to this game.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this game looks so freaking awesome and weird. They have a unique style for the 3 different types of creatures that are in this. There's creatures, monsters, and humans, and each of them has a totally different style. Like one of them is claymation, one of them is pixels, and then the other one I can't remember. But they use it uniquely for like each different denomination of them. And I mean, there's only so much I can say about what I can remember about why I bought this damn game.
You know what? I will concede this one to you.
Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon is a great roguelite light mystery dungeon game. However, I don't like the Switch, or I should say the new version of it. It's on PS4 as well. The Wii version is actually still better. So there are some downfalls with this. It's still a good version of the game to play. It has a surprisingly good story and it's wholesome and wonderful, but there are some flaws to it. So just knowing what I know.
Yeah.
All right. So Galen, you're saying it? You're calling it?
I'll call it. So our Paperweight Game of the Year is Moon, followed by Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, third spot being Shin Sakai, and fourth being the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered demo.
Hello everyone, this is future Oni Dino coming to you in post, a very sleepy Oni Dino. This episode in particular was a huge one, a super huge one. Galen and I talked for over 3 hours, and this is only half of the episode. I just kind of ran out of time while editing it the whole weekend, so I had no choice but to split it up into 2 parts because I didn't want to hold the episode hostage or anything. So please do look forward to next week's episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. It gets a little bit more intense from here out as we sort of battle it out for the very game of the year. Thank you very much for listening, and the next episode will be out in a few days. I think it's going to be a little bit sooner than Sunday or something. I'm aiming for Friday. Full disclosure, I'm aiming for Friday. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great New Year's if I don't hear from you. Be safe.